I'm happy to welcome everyone tonight to AB STEAM's Hackathon final event. We're here at Denny's Place in Acton, or West Acton, shall I say. And really what we're here to do is to celebrate the 4 teams who have completed the hackathon. That Integral Charitable Foundation, which I represent, Susan Welt, the Town of Acton, with the Sustainability Office and Conservation Office, all supported in development of the hackathon solutions with our 4 teams. So this started, and I'll just give a little brief here on the prompts. This started as a concept that I had with KJ Heather of AB STEAM, and my company gives pro bono work and grants, and so we actually came up with a problem statement that we could involve the students. And so back in January of 25 we developed something, and then working with the town we came up with our prompts of the solutions or the problems we wanted to address. And really one of the major problems we have in Acton is flooding. From an example is the microburst that we had in about 5-6 years ago. Thank you, Dorothy. And so really we took that and said, what can we do to address this in a sustainable manner? And we're seeing more of climate change and resiliency, and so how can we have the students become involved in helping solve the problem? So working with the town, we came up with 2 prompts. One is what beavers do, and beavers build dams. Dams can create flooding, but that is a natural process of how they live, and how can we become a symbiotic relationship with the beavers, and really also allow us to enjoy nature, not create other issues. The other prompt is regarding infrastructure. So think about your stormwater drains and what happens to clog them and things like that. And so we gave the 2 prompts to the students, and over the past 6-7 months, the students have been working with Ian, Lorna, and I on a monthly basis with office hours and coming up with developing their solutions, answering 9 questions. They provided a report they submitted 2 weeks ago, which went to the town and was evaluated for the prioritization of implementation. And this evening we're here to really honor and celebrate the solutions that the children came up with, or the students, forgive me. And so they will give a 5-minute presentation, a poster about their solution, the problem they were trying to solve, and then we'll be celebrating all their dedication and hard work they've really put into it. So I will just say that I commend the students. They're 7th through 12th graders who were involved in this, and really their creativity and their passion and dedication, and the questions they asked really were profound and really helped us develop a solution and work with the town to come up with something that is implementable. And so really we're looking forward to, in the many years to come, get grant monies and hopefully work with students and Eagle Scouts in the community to implement some of these solutions, as they are community-based.
So folks, one of the 2 problems, one of them was to deal with, and this is a fun trivia fact, America's largest rodent, the beaver. The beaver is an incredible creature that is really one of the strongest engineers out there. They're really great at helping us keep all of our water and helping us get through our droughts. They're also really great at flooding our trails and making our feet really wet. And so just down the street at Heath Hen Meadow Conservation Land, 7 months ago, we took this group on a field trip down there, and we were able to observe some of the flooding issues that are happening. Within about 3 months of that, we were able to find some funds and hire a company to actually put in a device to help us drain the water to a sustainable level. And as you'll see tonight, it's not working as best as it could. And it was students and it was youth that realized that and that pointed that out and helped develop a new solution to it. So one of the problems I advocated for tonight that some of the groups chose was to deal with beaver-related flooding. How do we coexist with the wildlife that was here before us and that will be here long after we're gone? And now Lauren will talk about the other problem.
Sure. So the second issue that the town has some experience with that we wanted to see what solutions the students could come up with is related to stormwater flooding. If you recognize storm drains, just those grates that you see in the ground around town, oftentimes when we get large rain events or when a lot of snow is melting at once, we realize that some of those drains in town are either full of sediment, covered with leaves, or just don't have the capacity to manage all of that water. So the students, some of the groups focused on that problem to kind of come up with ways to increase capacity for our municipal stormwater systems.
Yeah, so he's Maddie, I'm Tian Lee, and this is Koji. And our project's about an innovative take on a modern solution, improving the drainage system of the soil separator.
So for our scenario, we chose the one pertaining to the stormwater drains flooding the streets. And we discovered that the problem with traditional stormwater drains is sometimes, depending on the location, as Ian mentioned, they don't have the capacity or the cleaning systems necessary to remove debris and contain all that stormwater. So we came up with a solution which would help improve both those problems.
So when we started to try to solve this problem, we began brainstorming by looking at inspiration across the internet. And as we were searching, we came across this design called the swirl separator. And the swirl separator basically collects the water, so rainwater or snow, and it passes through this tube. This is an example of this. And the water spins around, and because of the force and the gravitational force, all the debris that usually gets clogged gathers into the middle, which reduces the risk and the problems with debris clogging the pipes. And there's also another wall to filter other bigger debris or other things that would clog or destroy the pipes. So after several months, the solution we ended up creating was an innovation of this. So originally designed by Vortec, which is a company that makes the swirl separators, our solution was to fix some of the flaws of the swirl separator. So some of the flaws included this pipe being too short, I think, and then we also added another grate for further filtration. And we innovated a solution so it could be placed anywhere in Acton region.
So a big question that for a lot of these solutions have was probably just going to be, how is this sustainable? And as you see in our design, we have 2 manhole covers, and that makes the entire structure really accessible from the top, and in turn makes it accessible for maintenance. And the swirl separation system we have actually, because it creates a natural vortex, it does not need extra external energy to be input into the unit, and that allows it to be to last for a longer period of time. And the cost for the entire thing, we need about 3.3 cubic yards of concrete, and at around $190 per cubic yard, the concrete will cost for each unit about $630. And the 2 manhole covers would be $930. The 3 grates we would use for the intake, outtake, and the one in the center chamber would be around $525. And in total, the material cost, will be about $1,445. Yeah, and this is just a pretty close estimate for the actual cost. And the excavation, we need to excavate about 3.9 cubic yards of dirt, and that would cost about $170. And if we have 2 workers pouring concrete at a rate of around $50 per hour for 4 hours, it would be $200. So the final cost per unit for the swirl separator would be $2,015 per unit, and that's not including sales tax.
Hi, I'm Navia.
I'm Shreyas.
I'm Natasha.
And I'm Arush.
We are all 7th graders who attend RJ Gray. Our solution was the self-deploying flood barrier. The scenario we chose was stormwater drainage and street flooding. The location we ended up choosing was Gates and Douglas Boardwalk, but this same solution can be used for any other boardwalk or buildings adjacent to flood-prone areas. Originally, we were going to do Assabet River, and our solution was going to be a French drain, but we chose boardwalk since it was more near and dear to our heart, since some of us attended Gates and Douglas.
So there are 2 parts to our solution. There's the engineering design and the nature-based design. So our engineering design is a self-deploying water dam, which is similar to the Garrison Flood Control Stingray water dam. The flood barrier differs from traditional sandbags because it's portable and self-deployable, and it has built-in weights, so it keeps it in place when deployed. And since it is self-deployable, it can be set up in advance to stop surprise flooding. So basically, you would just put this in advance, and then whenever it would flood, it would open up like that. And depending on how much it actually floods, it opens up more. So if there's a lot of flooding, it'll open up a lot. And if there's a little flooding, it'll open up a little. And then this is our physical model. So this is supposed to be the weights. And then it would start like this, and then whenever the water would come in, it would open up more and more and more to keep, this is supposed to be the boardwalk, to keep the boardwalk, safe.
In addition to our engineering solution, we also wanted to use a nature-based solution. We used plants such as Joe Pieweed, marsh marigold, and blue iris to soak up moisture in the soil. These plants are also pretty, smell nice, and are known for attracting pollinators. It will also make a great addition for rain gardens. We also made a 3D model of our solution and an online design.
Our solution impacts our community in many different ways. Our solution ensures that the bridge is accessible and safe for our community. It is especially useful for students traveling to and from school during a flood or very heavy rain. The self-rising water dam can also protect other boardwalks and buildings in flood-prone regions. In addition, with the plants, we're enhancing the beauty and aesthetic of the campus.
The pros of our solution is that it only needs to be installed once, and there's not much manual labor to that. It's also self-activating, meaning that no one has to go out during the flood to deploy it. There's also no maintenance needed. Some of the cons is that it's costly if we buy a product ready-made from the market, but we could decrease that cost significantly if we buy the materials and build it ourselves. The product also may not be able to take severe storms because from the market it's around 4 feet tall and the boardwalk's around 5. So our next steps would be we need funding, and we would also need permission from the school.
Hello, my name is Aniket. This is Skanda. This is Raj.
I'm Ryan.
And we decided to do the beaver dam. And so basically we decided to do a pontoon bridge because it is sustainable, and we decided to make it out of aluminum because plastic will not be good for the environment. And if we make it, if it was another thing, then we would have to constantly remake the bridge, and whereas a pontoon would float up. And so yeah, this is this is a model of our bridge. And other solutions that we considered were an elevated boardwalk, which is just a raised boardwalk to account for the raising water. And another one we did was beaver pipes, and pipes installed to drain out the water, and boardwalk away from the beaver, building the boardwalk at a distance from the beaver lodges and active dam site to avoid effective flooding and reduce risks of water damage, and beaver pipes away from the beaver lodge. Instead of building the beaver pipes near the dam, we could build it away from the dam. And yeah, since the beavers are attracted by flowing water, we can build the beaver dam away from the beavers so that they do not notice it. Yeah. And our solution is going to be developed in the Heaton meadow, but similar solutions can be implemented in other areas as well.
All right. Our proposed solution is sustainable and ecologically friendly because it can adjust to the water level, which means it doesn't have to replace if the water level like in its lifetime if it rises and drops. And our solution also minimizes impact on the environment by giving like access for like wildlife, because it's not like exactly on the water. There'll be a gap beneath it to like allow wildlife to like travel and prosper. And it also doesn't allow anything with like the beaver dam around it, because like it's already allowing nature to like prosper, and the trail like still going to be accessible. And our proposed solution addresses flooding with the pontoon adjusting to the water level. So like when the wetland floods, the pontoon can stay above water and keep the trails open for people. And it's sustainable because the pontoon boardwalk can adjust to the water level, which means that like it doesn't have to be replaced if the water level rises in the future anytime. So this way it can last for much longer than the original boardwalk, as they flood much often. And we used aluminum and wood to build pontoon bridge because they're like very sustainable materials.
Here you can see a diagram comparing a traditional boardwalk to a pontoon boardwalk. And as you can see, the traditional boardwalk is well secured with supports and stuff. Although if the water level were to rise, it would stay stationary and be consumed by the water. The pontoon boardwalk, however, would float on top of the water if the water level were to rise, making sure that the bridge isn't lost to the water, so you don't have to keep rebuilding it higher and higher if the water were to rise. We considered some factors such as a boardwalk the factors considered for a boardwalk in beaver wetland could be anchoring or foundations. Depending on the style, you could do driven piles, ground mats, or flotation. We must work in saturated soils and adapt to the water changes, because sometimes the water can change the soil. For safety and accessibility, we had to consider non-slip decking, railings if it's for public, and ADA accessibility for research or recreation use. For seasonal changes, the boardwalk must withstand winter ice, spring flooding, and summer droughts. Some designs allow sections to rise and fall with the water individually. Load capacity depends on purpose. Light use, wildlife observation, research teams, or heavy use as a public park. We'd need to figure out what material it would be made of aside from just aluminum for that to be fully considered. We'd also have to consider the water flow. Beavers change water levels dramatically. The boardwalk must handle flooding, ponding, and dry spells. Soil and ground conditions. Wetlands have soft, unstable soils and need piles, mats, or floating systems for stability, or else the pontoon boardwalk could capsize. Beavers may chew food, redirect wood, or build near the structure. Materials must resist gnawing, and design should avoid blocking their travel routes. As you can see, you could probably fit a beaver under some of the parts. We also need permits and regulations. Local, state, and federal wetland permits are usually required. Some areas may restrict construction near active beaver lodges. And for materials, we chose rot-resistant, non-toxic, and wildlife-safe materials like recycled plastic, lumber, aluminum, cedar with protective finish. Avoid creosote or harmful treatments.
To implement our solution, assuming that the boardwalk is about 200 feet long, we calculated that the rough budget would be around $12,200. And this includes materials. So we decided we would make our boardwalk out of aluminum, wood, and other alloys. Transportation costs, installation costs, engineering costs, permits, and other contingencies. Also, in order to implement our solution, we would need about 9 permits, and some of them include a notice of intent, an order of condition, and So, therefore, we recommend a pontoon bridge connecting the trail path near the beaver dam. This way, the trail will be accessible, stay afloat during and after floods. to storms and due to storms and other natural events, making it an environmentally friendly and sustainable solution for our community. Thank you.
Right. Hey everyone. We based our solution around Heath Hen Meadows, and that's because beaver dam induced flooding has been a constant problem there for a good while. There's a lot of rising water levels that damage infrastructure like the bridge and limit accessibility of the trails. There have been some methods implemented there in order to mitigate this. In 2022, the bridge was taken down and rebuilt a whole foot above the old one in order to get above the rising water levels. But as of now, the water level has risen enough to be a problem at the bridge again. And to deal with that, in October of 2025, pretty recent, they installed a pond leveling system there to redirect excess water away from the trails and to get it off to the other parts of the wetland. But that did not work out so well, and the water levels haven't actually been impacted all that much. So that's why we decided to base our solution around Heath Hen and trying to build a solution in a way that could mitigate these problems.
All right. So the first part of about figuring out how to improve on these pipe systems is to do an assessment. And while we visited Heath Hen, we noticed a couple of problems. The first problem was that the downstream opening end of the pipe was too close to the beaver dam, so there wasn't enough length for the pipe to be able to be completely submerged underwater, leading to a lot of noise when it comes to the water flow. Another part is that we're not super sure if the fencing, as you can see in this diagram, fencing is really essential to keep beavers away from pipe openings and from interfering with the water flow. And we want to make sure that they're large enough. The third thing is that there were concrete blocks at the top as weights, but we think that that's not the best solution because they could be quite unstable. And yeah, so I'll get into the solutions now. The first part of the solution of improving on the pipe system is to extend the pipe around 10 feet is what we recommend past the downstream level to give it some space to be completely submerged in the water. We also are considering adjusting this part of the pipe, which is the highest point that the pipe goes, right above the beaver dam, and this part of the pipe regulates the water flow and controls what level the water, the pond level could be in the upstream area. And currently we recommend to reduce the pond level by around 2 to 3 inches. So that's the amount of inches that we should be adjusting the top of this pipe downwards. We also propose a gate system. Basically, this gate system has a motor connected to a flap gate that will be able to open and close. When it's closed, it will seal off the opening of the pipe, which will prevent water from flowing through into the downstream area. And the reason why this is important is because as much as we want to address upstream flooding, we also have to address downstream flooding. There's a lot of residential areas and streets, including Central Street, and there's even a train track in the downstream area, and we want to make sure that those areas don't flood as well. So what we decided on doing was installing a couple of float sensors in certain locations downstream, and what these float sensors will do is they will sense whether the water level downstream has reached a dangerous level, and if it has, then it'll send a signal to this motor, and that motor will close the gate to prevent water from further flowing into the downstream area. We'll also have a photocell sensor. These are like day-night sensors, so at night it will seal off the pipe so that since beavers are nocturnal animals, it'd be best to stop the water flow at that time period so that beavers don't get suspicious that there's that there's water flowing. The next part is to consider the size of the pipes, because at Heath Hen we've already installed 2 pipes. We recommend doing this at other wetlands where trails are being affected, because replacing the entire pipes might not be the most cost effective. But we think that using multiple smaller pipes as opposed to fewer larger pipes would be more efficient in bringing water from the upstream to the downstream end, because there'll be smaller pipes will be able to line up more horizontally, so a larger area of the pipe will be able to hold a larger area of the pipe will be able to allow water to flow through. Next we have the beaver. Our next solution is a beaver dam analog. Beaver dam analogs are human-made structures that mimic beaver dams. They're made of the same materials, wood, mud, and rocks. And basically what they can do is they can hold upstream waters back and away from the flooded areas that we experience at the bridge. Most notably, this area right here is experiencing a lot of flooding. And we think that this is because the area is in the upstream area. So this entire area and below is upstream, and since the beaver dam is further downstream than the bridge is will be in the upstream area. So to prevent that, we can build beaver dam analogs so that the bridge is now in the downstream area, which will lower the pond level. And we can do this with the aid of a drainage pipe, which will be able to bring floodwater from that area into the downstream area. And here's some more images showing where the path of the dam and where we plan to build beaver dam analogs. And yeah.
The next part of our solutions is to add wire enclosures around trees so the beavers don't have as much access to them to cut them down in the first place. Here you can see some images of how that might be done. We plan to add wire mesh that will encircle the circumference of the tree around 6 inches to a foot away from the tree in order to give trees room to breathe, to get sunlight, to grow, and all of that they need. We also want the mesh to go 4 feet up above the ground from the base of the tree, because we don't want beavers climbing or jumping over the wire mesh. And we want that to stay a consideration even in the winter months when we can get like a foot or more of snow on the ground. That stops beavers from climbing over or jumping over, but they can still tunnel and dig under. If they try to do that, if we observe signs of beavers attempting to dig or tunnel, we can plant native species that naturally repel them, such as elderberry. They don't have such a good affinity for elderberry. They generally avoid it out in the wild. So we can plant plants like elderberry around the base of the wire, so that naturally repels them from going close, and they won't touch the trees, and it won't affect other organisms who might need to get close. As for the trees that we're gonna mesh, it wouldn't be a good idea to mesh all the trees because beavers, they tend to target trees that are within 100 feet of the wetland where they live, like a 100-foot radius, which is quite a lot of trees. So when we went to Heath Hen, we collected some data and we found that beavers typically target a lot more deciduous trees than they do conifers. So within the 2 acres of land, 1 acre on each side of the wetland, we will mesh up to 50% of the deciduous trees and 15% of the conifers. And here you can see a diagram of the meshing areas, 1 acre to the north and 1 acre to the south. And the southern area is cut off a little bit because of property lines, but it should still have a wide enough area that it's effective against beavers taking down too many trees and increasing the size of their dams at the rate that they are doing now.
Can I also add something? So another reason why we don't want to mesh all the trees within the surrounding area of the wetland is that it's not only essential to many of the other wildlife, but it's part of a beaver's diet. Beavers like to eat the cambium right underneath the bark of the trees, which are packed with proteins that they need. So meshing all of the trees would have a negative impact on them.
So on to our next solution, which is growing vegetation at the wetland. So overall, we visited Heath Hen a decent amount of times between the time we started this project and now. And in that time, we found that there are a lot of native plants in the area, such as these, right in front of us, and they're also labeled in that picture above there. And we found also while at Heath Hen that there was a decent amount of erosion due to the wetland degrading the soil, which also impacted flooding onto trails. And because of that, we thought it'd be a good idea to include plants in the riparian zone, or in other words, the area between the coast and the shallow area of the wetland. Because plants, especially wetland plants, especially if they're native, are really great because they can use their roots to strengthen the soil. And along with that, certain wetland plants are really good at absorbing water. And we can see on this graph up here, the green is anything that can be planted in the riparian zone or in the shallow water. And that includes smooth alder, speckled alder, and generally any freshwater sedges and grasses. And that's because they thrive in wet conditions. Anything that's not highlighted, such as winterberry, sweet pepperbush, and maleberry, can be planted a little farther away because while they can handle poorly drained soil, they can't handle too much. And lastly, steeplebush also falls into that category, but steeplebush should be planted in a more clustered together, and cattail should be completely submerged. And overall, we used on this map. It's about 2.5 acres, I believe, and it's where we proposed to plant plants for the solution.
Alright, so now let's take a look at the cost and implementation of our plans. So, to implement all 3 of our plans, we'll need a variety of materials, including but not all of them, including these pictures down here. And we did calculations in our write-up which we found to find a total cost of roughly $9,405 to $18,500, depending on the discounts you get. And so, in order to fund that, we would need grants from the state, from private firms, and all that. And another important part of this solution is that we not only need to create these solutions, but we also need to educate the public, and through outreach we can do this. So we're proposing things such as creating trail signs to inform hikers of these changes, creating flyers and posting them around town in places such as the town hall or close to the library or other public areas that would help educate people on what we've done to change this environment for coexisting with the beavers. And through this outreach, we'd be able to get volunteers, and we'd be able to use these volunteers to help implement these projects. But I think one thing of note we have to take into account is that beavers are a highly protected species, and making any changes to their environment and wetlands in general requires a lot of approval from the government. And so that's basically our first step to implementation.
which would be like proposing this and getting it approved from like higher ups. And just to conclude, some next steps that we could take. So the duration of this project lasted from around like November to right now, which is a period of time that does not include all the seasons, and it only includes the behavior in fall and winter. So if we could get more data from this area in other seasons, like potentially considering snow melt effects in the spring or other things like that, that depend seasonally that we did not track, we could potentially create a more a better solution that could account for all these factors. And lastly, this solution isn't just unique to the Heath Hen Meadows. Like these problems are present everywhere, and in places such as like Guggins for example, we can also try to implement these solutions to help and mitigate the damage from that.
I hope that you guys are all impressed like we have been. The diversity of thought and solutions, and you probably learned more about beavers than maybe even Ian knew. I don't know if that's possible. But no, really how many complex things go into developing solutions and the diversity that came about. So with that, I just want to thank AB STEAM for again helping to support this and pull it together, and Danny's Place for hosting us, and the town and all the students and all the parents and everyone with the support. The dedication has been amazing. And I'm going to turn it to Ian and Lauren, who are going to say something about each team, and I'll hand out certificates.
We're going to call the teams up, and they'll kind of come up here. We'll give them a certificate. We're going to take a little photo with them, and then we're just going to kind of say from the town's perspective of like, you know, how that project looks for us, and really how we felt based on everything we've received from the community, what we're going to do next. So, first, could we have team number 10 come up? Y'all know who you are? Oh, yes, that's your team. Yeah, yeah. If y'all can come up. So, okay. So, team 10. So, do you all want to introduce yourselves again?
Yes.
Raymond, sorry. Just tell everybody your name again.
I'm Raymond, and I'm a senior at ABRHS.
Hi, I'm Nisha, and I'm a junior at ABRHS.
I'm Yang, and I'm also a junior.
I'm Teju, and I'm a junior at ABRHS.
And so Team 10, we agreed that had one of the most multifaceted solutions through nature-based and integrated approaches that improved upon a current system that enabled coexistence of wildlife and humans. And at the end of the day, one of the things that we always try to champion, and I think a lot of people in Acton believe in this, is that we deserve to coexist together with nature and ourselves. So really a big congratulations to your team. We're extremely grateful to have had you a part of this process. So thank you.
Nisha? I can do it the official way, like practice for graduation.
That's right, that's good practice.
I'm doing it this way. I'm opposite. I'm not good on the practicing for graduation part. That's for you.
And do you want to hold it up and take a photo?
Oh yeah. A certificate.
Let's do a round of applause again, everybody. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay. We have team number 6, also known as the Pontoon Pack. Oh, I think you got your own sound effects. So team number 6 are our Pontoon Pack. Do y'all want to introduce yourselves? Just one more time.
I'm Rayanj. I'm Monica. I'm Ryan. I'm Sanda.
And so this term, we believe, had certainly one of the most unique names, coming up with yourself. And also your design was very original. It addressed social benefits of accessing wetlands and flooded areas. And one of the things I'm really impressed by your group is that you took a solution that we often only see in coastal areas and you brought it to a freshwater ecosystem. And there are a bunch of places in town where I think it would be a lot less of a pain if we had floating boardwalks rather than going out and getting your feet wet or having to lift them up manually. So be really proud of yourselves. I'm really grateful, and I'm looking forward to writing a grant to get that funded. So thank you so much.
And by the way, there is an Acton nature guide that was developed by AB STEAM and the Town of Acton Conservation, Tom Tidman and Eileen Sullivan at the schools. So there's a nature guide with all the trails in there in your package.
There we go. Do y'all want to pose for a photo? And another round of applause for them. On Team Pack.
You're doing great.
Okay, and team number 9, can you come on up here, please? Awesome. So, if you want to introduce yourselves again.
I'm Koji O'Hara.
I'm Stanley Shao.
I'm ABRHS.
And we're all in 8th grade from RJ grade.
Wonderful. So team number 9, you designed a truly technologically driven solution, taking hard engineering from sketch design and bringing it into a reality with looking at both budget and, as I heard, asking a family friend to check it out who's also an engineer, which I think really helped to put confidence in your design. You took to managing debris within local stormwater infrastructure, which reduces flood risk on our streets. And I think everybody can know that just a few years ago, we had a lot of flooding happen where our water was no longer going in the storm drain, but coming out of the storm drain. And I think your solution might be on the forefront of something that the state could even look at adopting to require in a lot of our neighborhoods. Because one thing we have to do is start picking up after ourselves a lot more. And it looks like your solution might do that without us having to lift a thumb. So thank you so much for it. Another round of applause. And close to the photo.
Let me shake hands for them. Really a pleasure.
Thank you.
And did you get a photo already? Okay.
All right.
Oh, yeah, one more. Of course.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, no, this is the time.
Be proud.
Sorry, 1, 2, 3.
Great. And we'll have our team 11 please come up.
We're missing some people.
Oh,
got
that's
it.
okay. That's
Not
okay.
a problem.
Double the certificate for you guys. Okay, so do you want to introduce yourselves, everybody?
My name is Shreyas Petty.
Yeah, and I'm Orange.
Awesome. So Team 11, you developed a solution to maintain the use of crucial boardwalks and connections during the most challenging of storm events. And one of the things that we really were inspired by with this group is that you looked at a way to say, here's something that I deeply care about in this town, and I want to see it protected. And very often, a lot of the adults in this room get to vote at town meeting to do that with the money they have. But y'all really took it a step further where you came up with your solution, and now you're asking the town to try and implement it. So you should be really proud of yourselves that this is truly a grassroots solution. So really, thank you so much for being here today. And thank you for being with the process.
Look, I got this right for the last time.
If you want to pose for one more photo.
That's right. Get your photo.
Awesome. And one more round of applause for all of our groups.
Thank you.
And on behalf of the town, we are eternally grateful for this wonderful turnout, for the opportunity to really take our youth and put them at the forefront of involving them in the progress of what's going to happen in this town. I'm really excited to see what we do with these solutions. We know that permitting, we know that funding can take a while, but we've been shown that by these students, there's no reason to burn out. Because if in 6 months they could come up with a solution, I'm sure within a great amount of time we can come up with the funds and the permitting to make it happen. So again, thank you everybody so much for participating, and a huge thank you to our evaluators for stepping up and helping us make sure that the community was confident in these solutions. And we're really looking forward to being able to work with everybody on this. So stay tuned as always. Thank you so much, everybody.